This is Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel. When I think about the critical issues facing Black and brown residents in the St. Louis area, I often ask the questions: how did we get here? What's holding us back? And how do we progress? At 9 PBS, we want to deepen our understanding and change the narrative. Join me as I look for answers and discover solutions on today's podcast.
The following episode contains sensitive content around mental health that may be distressing or triggering to some listeners. We hope that this discussion fosters meaningful conversations, reduces stigma, and promotes understanding.
He seemed to be at the top of his game, but like an alarming number of other African Americans, he was contemplating taking his own life. Koran Bolden describes what got him past those terrifying thoughts and how he uses his personal experience to help Black youth survive and thrive.
Listen, St. Louis with Carol Daniel is supported in part by Midwest Bank Center and the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel. I am Carol Daniel here at 9 PBS, senior producer and host. So I have some directions for you before we get to our first guest today. Number one, subscribe. Subscribe. We have special content just for those who become subscribers, so you want to be in that special number. And then share this podcast with others. Do not keep it to yourself, and you will understand why in short order. And then lastly, I'd love to hear your comments. You learned something today, you were touched by something today, put your comments in at the end of the podcast or YouTube. You can find this podcast anywhere you find all your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Thank you so much again for joining us. I do want to say that today's conversation may cause you to feel upset. It may cause you to be sad. It may trigger memories of your own mental health challenges. And I just encourage you to take a deep breath. And I will not be offended at all if you listen to this in pieces, if you find that you can't listen to the entire conversation in one sitting, because believe me, I do understand. Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health released a report in August of 2023, this year, that says Black youth have the fastest growing suicide rate compared to their peers of other racial and ethnic groups. Between 2007 and 2020, the suicide rate among Black youth ages 10 to 17 increased by 144%. 144%. The numbers are meaningful, but that increase is real. From 1.5 per 100,000 in 2007 to 3.7 suicides per 100,000 in 2020. My guest knows about mental health challenges, and he has fought them and won. Koran Bolden is a rapper. I think he's still a rapper. He's still writing. He's an author, motivational speaker, entrepreneur. He has helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for nonprofits. He's the founder of Bold Moves Worldwide, and here to talk about how he survived his mental health challenges. It's so good to see you.
So I'm literally pinching myself. I can't believe I'm sitting here with you right now. Like, I'm like honored. Like, wow.
You
I'm really
and
here.
You know, when you, how many books do you have?
I have 2 now.
So the first one you wrote,
Yeah, Rock, Paper, Scissors.
is on my desk.
Okay.
And we talked then. What year did that come out?
That was about 8 years ago. Yeah, probably about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometime I've lost count of even when it's like everything's just a blur to me. I've been doing
Because you've done so much.
Yeah, last 15 years I've dedicated my life to serving young people, and I'm not stopping. I think I got a little bit more time left.
Come on now. You're what, 18 years old still?
I got a few grays in my beard.
I don't believe it. How long were you not feeling well?
Oh, man.
And what were you feeling?
That's a good question. By the way, this is like really my first time really talking about it, and I feel so comfortable to be able to talk about this with you. But, that's a hard question because I've gone through 41 sessions of therapy. And so I didn't even know that I was not feeling well until I became well. Yeah.
Isn't that so? Well, back up then.
Okay.
Why did you initially go to therapy?
Life was just crumbling. Of course, I'm a youth motivational speaker. People would call me. They would see this amazing talent of being on stage and how quick I would connect with youth, and everybody would call me all the time. I was getting phone calls from day in and day out, all the way to midnight, to like young kids that are thinking about committing suicide. And I'm answering these phone calls, just being a person of passion. But I had to learn, of course, in therapy, that I had to set some boundaries. I can't save everybody. Even though that's my desire to, some things I got to make sure I take care of myself as much as I want to take care of others. But I just knew I wasn't doing good just because of some of the thoughts that I was having. I just really didn't feel like, if I had to be honest, there was times I didn't even feel like waking up. I didn't want to necessarily cause harm to myself, but I knew it was time. I didn't want to wake up. There was a time where maybe for about 10 days I just slept in the bed. I couldn't get out the bed. Yeah, I was plastering a big smile on my face, and I just knew something was wrong. And then once I went through the therapy, I got this amazing therapist I reached out to. I found her through a neighbor of mine. She kept walking around so happy. Like, I'll see her coming out the door. I'm like, why are you so happy? She's like, my therapy session was amazing. And I'm like, what? And then she comes out again. She's, my therapy session was so amazing. And I said, you know what? Can you give me that number? And I got on the phone with my therapist, and she literally told me, she said, hey, if you've been doing everything that you've been doing with weights on you and you're traumatized, how much more will you be able to do if we cut these baggages off of you?
I think we could stop the conversation right then. I mean, that would, and go home, but we are not, because we want to keep digging and I believe help even more people. And so you know, because I've told you this, that Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel is really about the challenges that the Black community faces. And I've always been of the mindset, and I mean always, in my 40 years as a reporter, that when I would see certain things, Black people in the news, and usually it's about crime, I always wondered what happened. Who were they? Who were they before this?
Right.
And what happened to them?
Right.
And so your willingness to talk about it, you and I both know.
Yeah.
That it will change people's perspective. And that's what we want to do, is to change the story we tell ourselves. Yes. And one of the stories we tell ourselves is Black people don't commit suicide. Black people don't go to therapy, even though it's changing a little bit, right?
Yeah, changing that narrative. I remember I used to be like that. And then there was no other door to go through other than therapy. I was raised in church, heavy background, preaching on stage and, motivational speaking. So I'm pretty motivated, but I just was empty. I had nothing to give. I didn't trust anybody. I just felt like I was crying out for help. And I felt like I had to plaster this smile on my face, because there were certain days that I would step out, and if I didn't give them Koran Bolden, the motivational speaker, they're like, are you okay? What's wrong with you? And that even made me feel shamed. And so I got to a point where I said, hey, I'm going to get help. It's just that time. And it's the best decision that I ever made in my life.
Did you tell anyone that you were going?
I told my mom. Yeah, I told my mom. My mom was a very big support to that. So when I was growing up, I lost my brother to gun violence. At the age of 9, he was like a dad to me, because I didn't have my dad around. And then my dad wasn't around. My dad was actually at his funeral. I found out that he was one of the biggest philanthropists in the community. He was with a lot of different organizations and stuff, but I never got a chance to see him. So that was a heartbreaking thing, to see him have all these awards and all these community service hours, but I didn't get a chance to see him at all.
He wasn't there for you.
No, and it made me feel a certain type of way. But I have learned these things that they in mental health or in therapy that they call mantras, where it's like you definitely want to acknowledge what's happening and acknowledge your feelings, but then you turn it and say, but. You put a but right there, and then you change the narrative.
So my father wasn't there for me,
but I am able to connect with other youth in the St. Louis region and beyond because of my abandonment issues from not having my father. And I will make them successful and not have to experience those same situations. So it's like a mantra. You change that mentality, like a victim, woe is me mentality, and you change the narrative. You put that comma right there, and then you write it out. And that really, really, really helped me when she was teaching me the cognitive behavior
I am
therapy.
Curious if you knew or made a conscientious decision to only tell your mother. You knew better than to tell others.
Yeah, so the name of my company is called Bold Moves, which is basically doing life afraid. Bold means that there has to be some fear. That means that you overcame a fear and you did it anyway. And so, to be honest, the first person that I told when I first got in was my mom, and then after maybe, I stand corrected. I posted online. I posted it online this time, actually.
I feel like I saw that.
Yeah, I posted it
Yeah.
online. I stand corrected. I posted it online, and I said, hey, I'm going to therapy. And that was my way of actually holding myself accountable. And also, that was a way for me to be able to let people know I'm empty. Don't ask me for anything else. And I put that out there. Then the first week, second week, I started counting the numbers, and I'm like, wow, it's week number 5.
You were saying on Facebook, I've just completed 12 sessions.
Yes,
I've just
yes.
completed 15 sessions.
Well, I think the part that nobody really shows is, especially when it comes to our youth, is that we show them when we've arrived, but we haven't showed them those day to day feel. I just felt like at the end of this story, I'd rather for you to know that I went through each step, and for you to I'm just gonna air out my own dirty laundry, and I'm just gonna step it through. I think that was one of the most courageous yet biggest pivotal moments of my career. When I walk around, like just around St. Louis now, it's a total different type of respect, and it's not based on like houses and cars and achievements and awards. It's based off the fact that you, as an African American young man, went through all that what you went through. You were in a prominent position of influence, particularly with the youth, and you came out boldly and said, I'm not okay. And you walked it down, and you did 41 sessions. Like, it was very, very hard going through those sessions of therapy.
What was hard?
Just the rewiring. As a male, you're taught to, suck it in, don't cry. You're soft if you get up, come on, let's go.
Yeah, manly has its own.
Yeah, that's just the manly side.
Societal,
that's the masculine. Yeah. And then as an African American man, that's
super manly.
Yeah. You're super manly. So they tell you that,
Yeah.
Therapy is for, crazy people or whatever. And so that was a hard thing for me to have to deal with that. And I publicly posted it out there, and I even had some people that spoke against me a little bit. Like,
you did?
Yeah, some chitter chatter that was like,
I didn't read any of that.
Yeah,
'Cause
I mean,
I'll
people
go in on some of others. Yeah,
You'll go in on
no, not. I feel safe in saying, not my baby. You ain't. Who you talking about?
No, and I appreciate you for that. I believe that too. And we got a connection. So
We do.
it was just those little, when you try to take one step forward, you're gonna have those little situations that try to get you to take those 2 steps back. But I look at life like, okay, I'll take 2 steps back. That just gives me a phenomenal runway to be able to run over and jump over the gate, jump over the bridge. I can get more leverage if I pull back a little bit and do it afraid, bold moves. So as I was going through the different sessions, it's almost like somebody trying to teach you dancing, some dance moves, and you haven't danced all of your entire life.
That's a good one.
Yeah, like you tell me
I
to
don't
be
know how
on
to
Dancing
move.
of the Stars, and you want me to be this to be publicly televised, and you want me to win. And that was a hard thing because I was so used to writing. It's almost like if you were, you were really left-handed, but nobody ever asked you, have you tried with your right hand before? Or have you ever tried you've been using your right hand. Have you ever tried to use your left hand before? And you could have been left-handed the entire time, but you figured out a way to make sure that you write, and you've been using the wrong hand the whole time. And so that was what it was like for me. It was so easy to go back to my right hand because that's what I was taught. And so it's very uncomfortable trying to write with the proper hand that you're supposed to write with. And so there was a certain segments, and I tell people all the time, just as far as there are different levels of, there's a process. Like process 1, session 1, I think I cried my eyes out uncontrollably on the.
I like to cry, Koran, so
I cried.
Yeah.
I felt so embarrassed, Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I felt so. It was. She was asking me questions, and I think she was like intentionally like asking me questions, is like poking me, but I didn't know she was poking me. So she's poking me. I'm sitting there and I'm all masculine, and I'm I'm not gonna cry. Cry. Then I looked over and she asked me a question, and I said, "Yeah, cry up the tissue."
Oh my gosh.
And I couldn't. All I remember is bawling my eyes out, and I couldn't lift my head up. And she said, "Lift your head up." I said, "I can't do it." She said, "Lift your head up." I said, "I can't do it." She brought me some tissue, and even right now, it just kind of makes me a little emotional.
That's all right.
talking about it because that was the first time that I got a chance to accept that I was broken. But I was also in a room with somebody that had
That was gonna.
Yeah, she told me it was okay.
Gonna hold you.
Yeah, she was okay. So I felt protected, like the little boy in me. It's the little boy in me that was abandoned by my father that lost his brother to gun violence. All throughout school, nobody knew about mental health back then. It was just suspend you, you're going to be dead in jail. Actually, my mom took me to get some help one day when I was younger, and the psychologist he came and told my mom that after the assessment that I would probably end up dead or in jail.
Excuse me?
Yeah, my mom was mad about that too. Yeah, she said his issues that he's going through, I'm sorry to tell you, Miss Bolden, but he's going to be dead, probably end up dead or in jail if he doesn't fix this. And she pulled me out of there. And I just got to going through this big spiral in education. And so now the good thing about that is that I went through all those things in education to be able to go back now and to be able to fix the same system that was broken, that didn't find a Koran Bolden or a Carol Daniel, I feel like that's one of the reasons that I'm put here on this earth is to be able to catch those people that slip through the cracks and nobody believes in them. And I'm just saying, hey, I'm willing to lay my life down for this. Like, I know for a fact that there are good kids. Nobody wants to wake up and, as much as you see on the news, wake up and kill somebody or commit suicide or commit a crime. There's some form of brokenness there.
Right.
Can we start to focus and address those situations and figure out how we can do intervention and prevention so that we don't even have to have these news stories that are plaguing our community with the perceptions of what our city looks like.
So my bishop, my pastor says that if you walk by wrong and do nothing, it becomes your standard. If you walk by wrong and do nothing, it becomes your standard. And I would apply that to how we have handled specifically young black men, that we have walked by what is wrong, and perhaps we are just now trying to do something. Yeah. But we have not. And as we all know historically, what has been done to black men historically, the over-incarceration and the over-policing of urban communities in this country has left us with a bunch of broken young men, broken families, leading to broken children. Yeah. And so I want to know if when you go to young people, I'm sure you can see it. You know what you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny is that, or it's not even actually funny at all, actually. Before COVID, when I was going into the schools, I would have a good mixture of both boys and young girls that when I asked, what do you want to be when you grow up, that would like raise their hands with full of excitement. After the pandemic, going back into the schools, young black boys don't respond at all to that question.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just my personal observation. You can always tell where the culture is going to be in the next generation based on African American young boys. Because I could, at that age when they're in the middle school, like in the middle school age, I can tell, I can look and see the hopelessness in their eyes, and I'm not okay with that. So I really wish that people would really wake up. Right now, we have a crisis on our hands. As much as we want to put our hands over our eyes and play peekaboo and say, hey, it's not there as long as I cover my eyes up. No, it's very much that person is still in front of you. And I've re-strategized the way that I do my approaches. I used to go into the schools and just do speaking engagements. Now I've gotten a little bit more strategic with things as I've gotten older. And now I figure that I know what I do good. I'm a motivational speaker. I get people excited. I connect the dots, and then I bring in those professionals, those truth professionals, and wraparound services for those youth that need me even after I'm gone, because I know what my calling is. And so I've been connecting with great organizations and mental health services to just be able to get people to first understand that it is okay to not be okay. And the second part to that is that it is not okay to remain that way. I'm not going to leave you that way. It's okay to not be okay, but I'm not okay, and you shouldn't be either to stay that way, because you have so much potential inside you. You were born for a reason. You were born for a purpose. And even though you can't see it at the time, everything that has tormented you and threw you, bricks and rocks at you, those are the same things that's going to make you the story, give you a platform to be able to share so that somebody else that's going through that same thing can have comfort and empowerment and say, hey, if you made it out, so can I. And sometimes that's all you need, especially when you're not feeling too well, is just somebody to just give you a word of hope and say, hey, I've been there. Keep going. Koran, keep going. And it's so crazy. Like every time I think about like I'm getting low or I feel like giving up, somebody says, Koran, I see you. And that little Koran, I see you helps me for the next 30 days. So it doesn't always have to be money. It doesn't always have to be your time or voluntary. Like we all have our issues, right? But just a word, a text message, a voice note, a video. Reach out to a young black man, young black woman, family member that you know may be struggling that you haven't heard from in a while, or even if you're seeing like erratic behaviors, reach out to that person instead of judging them and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm proud of you. And I promise you that those words will do way more in an empowerment position for that person than judging them or not, talking about them, So I'm really excited. I'm like, at first I couldn't even see like the next 3 days. Now I'm like planning out the next 7 to 20 years. Where are we going to go as an organization? What does education look like? Who are the leaders? Who are the game players? And how do we reshape the narrative of the city of St. Louis when it comes to education and business empowerment?
Don't you love him? My guest on Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel is Koran Bolden, a rapper, motivational speaker. He is an author, 2 books, an entrepreneur, and the founder of Bold Moves Worldwide. You mentioned speaking to young people, and I know you've spoken to hundreds of thousands of young people.
Yeah.
What are they saying to you?
It depends. On in middle school and elementary, I literally can't. I can't even. When I'm done, they're like crowding around me. I almost need security. Like it's so like adorable. Actually, it's like they are so young and open. I just spoke at Yateman Middle the other day with a good friend of mine that had me come, Dr. Nash, and Principal Crumble. He had me come, and this is one of the schools where they are dealing with challenged. Everything that you can imagine, they're going through it, right? But when I get on stage, a light goes off, and I can see that light go off. And some of the things that they experience, to know that they still have a smile on their face, and when I come at that moment, it's enough to keep me going. So they're hopeful when they're in a room full of hopeful people. When they're in the room and they're looking at the news and they're looking at social media and TikToks and all this negatives, narratives out there, then they feel hopeless. I've noticed that as the generation gets older, high school and a little bit like college, maybe like, first 2 years of college, they're trying to find themselves. And a lot of them resort to things that they see on social media, which of course, is not real at all. It's not at all. They want to touch the fast money. They want to be in the light. They want to be seen. They want to be validated ultimately. But I'm just going in, letting them know, like, slow and steady wins the race. No matter how many times you read Tortoise in the Hare, you know who wins every single time. And it's a really, really great story. Like, don't try to go fast. Every person that I've seen go fast that try to, pass me up, or they're doing things too fast, they're too eager to get there, I've seen those people suffer great heartache and pain in their professional life and their business life, professional and personal life. And so I'm just trying to let them know, like, some of those old school principles
Still apply.
Yeah, no, those aren't going anywhere. They're like real, like slow and steady. Keep your name clean, be respectful.
Hard
respect
work
yourself,
is hard work.
Work ethic,
Yeah.
Come in early, stay late, all those type of things. Those are the things that has built my career, that even when I had situations that didn't go my way or times that I fell down, people said, you know what? He might be having a bad 1 year this year, but he's given us 14 great years.
Right.
And that's the things, and the relationships that I built. So that's another thing, is the relationships that I built. When I fell down, I felt a lot of people weren't there as much as I think they should have been. But I had some really good ones that really helped me sustain myself. And now I'm back up and I'm ready to do the work. I am so excited right now.
There are many reasons that I wanted to bring you in, because you are who you are, and everybody that I know who knows you loves you.
Yeah, thank you.
But one of the other reasons is this statistic from the CDC that 25% of African Americans seek help for mental health issues. 25%. That compares to 40% of Caucasians, and so 40% is low. 25% is even lower. So obviously it says that we as Black people are not getting the help we need. What stopped you from getting help in the first place? You didn't necessarily know?
It was hard. I tried to go throughout the years, and I would either have the wrong person. Maybe they were cold, they didn't fit my personality style, or they just, I just felt like embarrassed, like, because I'm crying. I remember a time I went before and I kind of cried. He asked me about my brother and I started crying, and that was not okay for me at that time. And other young men that I've talked to have said that they felt the same type of way, and they're like, it's so hard that I literally was talking to somebody like 2 days ago, and they said that they went to therapy, but they stopped because it was just too much. Like, I'd rather just leave it buried where it's at. And that is, I understand the frame of thinking behind that, but I also understand that that's a heavy weight and it's a crack in your foundation, and one day it will, whether it's a personal life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your friendships, that crack is being seen. You just don't know that it's
Right.
affecting you, and you could be so much more effective if you go ahead and be bold and keep going.
And I'm reminded of what you just said, that the therapist said to you, if you've done all you've done with the weight that you have carried,
Yeah.
imagine how much more you can do. So even, yes, you'll have a better marriage. Yes, you'll be a better friend. You'll also be more successful.
Yeah.
When you
will.
release these weights.
Oh, my thinking is better. One of the big things that as a small business owner that was hard for me is that I wouldn't trust people to even let them come onto my team to help me.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like I didn't. So if you don't trust, if you're looking at everybody with this critical negative
Right.
eye, and this lens, you won't be able to get to the next level, and it's going to come down on you, and it's going to really hurt you. So I learned to trust people, and sometimes I even talk to people. I say, hey, I just hired a new person, or I just got this person on board. They're like, do you trust them? You sure? Like, wait, Koran, who are they? And I'm like, hey, if they're bad people, they'll weed themselves out, because
right.
I am
All
going
will
to
be
attract.
revealed.
And you know what? To be honest, I don't even have those problems because you attract who you are. I've already set the culture by who I am. It's a positive, upbeat. We don't gossip. We don't play around. So you won't be able to be around me because we don't. This is the culture. It's
Right.
already set, and I set that culture already. And so I've had tremendous growth over the last maybe about 4 or 5 months. Yeah, we're in Atlanta now, so we're in 2 cities now. We're in St. Louis and Atlanta, and I just can't even believe it. I wake up every day, and I pinch myself and like, is this real? Is this really real?
Were you diagnosed
Yeah.
in those sessions?
Yeah. So she told me that I had ADHD. So I had all throughout my life. I've had like anxiety and stuff like that. But what I found out in therapy is it's like that could be a surface level thing. Like the anxiety was coming because I had ADHD and it was untreated. It was undiagnosed. So ADHD is very different in the diagnosis of what I've seen, just because it affects each person different. So for me, I would always lose my keys. I would always lose my ID. So if you look at my cell phone, I got it over there. I got a wallet on the back of my phone. I can't keep a wallet. But so can you imagine you're trying to go to a meeting somewhere and then you're looking all over the house trying to find a wallet? Well, that's my ADHD. So it would give me anxiety because every part of my life has to be structured, and I didn't know that. So she told me, like, basically, hey, you don't really have this big anxiety thing. Once you go heal the ADHD and you start to put structure and teams around you, you won't have anxiety. And that's exactly what happened. They told me I had anxiety, like severe anxiety. And I don't have that. It's actually ADHD. And when you have ADHD, my mind shoots it's all over the place.
Right.
It's like Jurassic.
But ADHD untreated became anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
And can lead to depression.
Right.
So if you just go to someone who doesn't know, or they just diagnose you and you don't really get a chance to go to therapy. And this is another thing too, is like a lot of times you'll just go to like your primary care doc. Like you need somebody that actually sits down and through therapy. I've been talking to my therapist for a year and didn't find out I had ADHD until it was a year later. She didn't even know. She talked to me every week, but she couldn't, after she heard a few things, she said, you know what, Koran? Let's go over something. Let me ask you a few questions, because she kept hearing a pattern. And sometimes it takes a lot of digging to be able to figure out what's really going on. And so that's what I would say, is that I learned that I had ADHD, and then I started putting stuff like air tags on my keys. I don't lose my keys no more anymore. I just learned how to be able to cope with the diagnosis, and I don't have anxiety like that anymore. And now I don't have depression or anxiety. If I do have some anxiety, it's probably because of something that's going on with my ADHD. I didn't get my clothes ready the night before. I didn't properly plan. I didn't write the things down, and now I'm fretting around looking for paperwork and stuff when somebody's asking me. But that was causing the anxiety, and then too much anxiety and not getting the results and keep dropping the ball leads to depression. So I don't have depression or anxiety. I actually have ADHD. And that's what I'm like, when I'm going out and I'm talking now, I'm like, there's so much that people don't really understand about this whole diagnosis thing. Like, oh, I just got ADHD. Oh, I just got depression. Oh, I got anxiety. Like, when you really get to digging down, you might find out that those 2 other things or 3 other things could be coming from something.
From one thing.
Yes. And so once we went through that, I accepted it. I did a lot of research on it, and I structured my life. So as soon as my brain starts to feel anxiety because I can't find my keys, I just go right to my phone, AirTag, find keys, and I go right on over to it. And now I don't have anxiety no more.
A very personal question, and that is, and you and I talked about this a little bit when we saw each other recently, that because of you did not know ADHD, anxiety, depression, you said you said to me in so many words that you were thinking about no longer being here. Yeah, I will say it in that way, because that's how I've heard it from several people. Yeah. They don't say, I'm going to kill myself. Yeah. They will say, I don't think I want to be here anymore. Yeah. They will say, I think that, I heard this from one person, I think that things would be better if I weren't here. Yeah. So it may come in different words to you that are listening to this. So be listening. Yeah. When did that happen for you?
I got a story that nobody really knows, but I'll share it today because I feel comfortable. Well, hoping it'll save somebody's life. So it was a day that I was sitting in my living room, and it was just a dark day. It was so dark. I mean, like the lights were off and everything. Like it was really dark, and it was almost like, well, I'm a spiritual person, so it was almost like I was just hearing these thoughts, these intrusive thoughts saying, nobody cares about you, Koran. Look at all what you did. Look, where is everybody at? You did all this stuff for everybody else, and then when it's your turn, look at you, they played you. Look at what God did. He doesn't care about you. Why is he doing this? So I remember I was listening, and I was like, I looked up to like God, like I'm looking up to the ceiling. I'm like, God, why you keep playing with me? Why are you doing this? Why did you give me this gift? Why do you, every time I try to quit, you keep giving me an opportunity. Like literally, I would want to quit and somebody will call and give me a contract the next day. A door will out. Why are you playing with me? This was the first time I've ever been this candid with God. Like I got total reverence for God. But that particular moment, I had a breakdown moment. And I looked out my balcony. I stay really high up on the 28th floor downtown. I looked over, and it was something that was just saying jump. Jump. And it was almost like if I would have sat there for just 1 second longer, I probably would have. And then I got this voice from God. It said, Koran, rest. You need to go lay down. I laid down. I woke up the next day and I seen this, commotion online, and I was looking at it. And this is a story I'm sharing for the first time. There's probably 2 or 3 other people, but the very next day I did feel better. But I did find out that one of our prominent attorneys here had committed suicide. That was going to be the same exact day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And probably 2 blocks from where you live.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I read the comments of what his family was saying, I promised to myself I would never have those thoughts. So I think he saved my life. Yeah.
That was very close to where you live. It's maybe even around the same time you were having those thoughts, because it was during the day when he took his life, when he jumped.
Yeah. I woke. That was the night before I was having thoughts. So I woke up.
Okay.
I did feel better the next day, but
And then he took his life that next day.
yes. And when I seen, I don't remember exactly when, but when I seen his family was just saying this is a trying time for us,
Yeah.
I just started to think about my little girl and my son and family and how much it would cause grief. That would be a hard moment for people that love me, and that these thoughts aren't real. And that at that moment was my actual pivotal moment I said, I'm going to get myself together and I'm going to keep on fighting this fight of faith and I'm going to make it through. And since then, I've never had those thoughts ever again.
And can we speak to people who might think in this moment, hearing that, you say you don't want to take your family through that, where someone else might say, me as I am right now is worse for my family. It'll be better if I'm gone. That's what we know some people do believe in the moment.
You know, I and to give you hope, and I always tell online, like a lot of times I say to people online, what a difference 365 days can make. The way that I was feeling at that moment, if I had done that, then I wouldn't be literally 1 year later, I am more vibrant, I'm more happier, I have more influence, I'm changing more lives, I have more solutions to the problems that we have, and I get a chance to wake up and see my kids smile. So it does feel like that at the moment. I did have those thoughts. But when I think about it, sometimes I get just happy just saying, I can't believe that I can't believe that I made it. And I get really excited about it because I was not feeling good at that moment. I never had any type of thoughts like that ever. But that particular night, it was a dark moment. And so, you know, if there's anybody out there that's listening and you have those thoughts, know that you're not alone. It can get the best of us. It doesn't have to be, you know, a mental health situation where it's like, oh, that stuff's just for homeless people, or those just for people that's on drugs, or that's for people that I was at the top of my career, and I was breaking down because I didn't know how to say no. That was one of the things that they told me in therapy too, the abandonment issue. So here's another thing. My abandonment issues made me be a person that has an attachment style that's more like anxious, like I don't want to tell people no because I don't want people to leave me. So I wouldn't set boundaries. I had no boundaries. So I learned in therapy that I have to have boundaries so that I don't even get empty. You start thinking like I don't want to live anymore because you're empty, you're depleted. And so now I have boundaries set. And it may hurt a few people's feelings when they can't get what they want anymore. But at the end of the day, I can't give you all and I'm left with nothing. And so I learned that too as well, is that you know, setting those boundaries and the abandonment issues that I had, those abandonment issues led to other behaviors that weren't healthy for me because I didn't know how to let people go.
We do want people to know that 988 is the number to call if you are feeling anything right now. If you're having an emotionally crisis type of moment right now, call 988. Someone will answer the phone right now. That is a national suicide prevention and mental health line to call. So 988 is the number, and it will be attached to the podcast and the YouTube video as well. Because you're a Black man, and again, I wanted to talk to you for so many reasons. One is that you are a Black man, but a young Black man, a well-known young Black man, an accomplished well-known young Black man.
Thank you.
And a friend of mine who works, she's retired now, but worked in the mental health space. She said to me once that the number of young Black men and women walking around with untreated mental illness would shock you. And when you say abandonment issues, we only need look at the broken family. So there are thousands and thousands of children being raised with abandonment issues. Some have strong mothers. All moms are strong. getting the food on the table, getting people clothed and out the door. It takes a lot, married or not, right? But to not have your father there does leave an imprint on your heart. And so in the Black community, the abandonment issues are showing up in ways that we have not made the connection. We have not made the connection. We know, Black father's gone. He's gone. There's something in his wake. And number one, it's an abandonment issue, and it shows up in little girls differently than in little boys. So speak to that.
Me growing up without it.
And why we need to.
Well, I mean, growing up without it, I mean, I feel like a little part of me, I was robbed of my childhood in certain areas because I was the man of the household. At the age of 10, 11 years old, I had to be the one that when my mom's coming in late from work or whatever, I had to go outside and be the protector. So it gives you this hard outer shell that if something happens, like the smallest disputes happen, you would buck up because I have to protect me and my family. I am the man of this household at the age of 10, 11, and 12. That's very traumatizing. And by not being able to like have a childhood, like a normal childhood, it really affects you. I like to say, I forgot the name of those dolls. Have you ever seen those dolls? It's like, there's like a doll, and then you take the doll off, and it's a smaller doll, and you take another doll off.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like these, and it gets all the way down to this little bitty doll,
they're
right?
Stacked and
That's almost like what it is been when there's this little bitty kid inside you. And so you see these grown men walking around, and you're like, why are they killing each other? Why are they going to jail? Why don't they get a job? It's like, no, like their entire life, that little bitty, the last one, the little bitty little doll, is being covered up by all these different layers.
That's good.
It's all these different layers, like be strong, don't cry. And when you see somebody get down to a vulnerable moment and they react, it's really because you've exposed all the other different people, like those other different layers. You've exposed them down to the little child. And so when you see a young person commit a crime, or maybe they're addicted to drugs, they're just basically crying out for help. They're crying out for help. They can no longer put on the front to be able to hide that little bitty young kid that was abandoned by his father. Or maybe he was like me. My dad used to tell me he was going to bring me a toy set for Christmas, and I just sit outside the window. I remember this. I was 6. I would look outside the window, and I'm like, I can't wait till he brings me this toy, and he doesn't bring the toy.
The disappointment.
Yeah, it hurts you. On top of that, a lot of, if you got a group of Black men and they all have experienced abandonment issues, we don't trust each other. Because to be honest, it's hard for me to connect with other Black men. Because I lost, my dad wasn't around. I lost my brother to the hands of a Black man. Black men used to always, that would try to mentor me. They would come in my life and then they would leave. So I'm dead. At the age of 12, I'm dead. And for the first time in my life, once again, by me going to therapy and breaking down crying and having somebody there to say, hey, it's okay to just be the little boy that lost his brother to gun violence, it's okay. That was my first time I got a chance to be a kid again. And I'm 41 years old. I was 39 when I was going through those sessions. And it felt good to be a kid again. It did. It truly did. It was liberating to be able to cry with no remorse and
no embarrassment.
No embarrassment.
No shame.
Yeah, no shame, no guilt. It was a breathtaking moment for me. But in the same breath, I would also say that that's what makes me who I am now, is that I can look at somebody in the thing about our young people is that they know when they got a fake in front of them. Yeah, I'm looking at them in their face. Yeah, they are very intuitive. They could look in, they could see the hunger and the drive in my eyes. I'm not playing with you. Like, I want you to get help. If you want me to go, I'll go with you. You want me to call, I'll call with you. You want me to just be a supporter, I'll be a supporter with you. But at the end of the day, you will succeed. It's my life's mission. And so, once again, I think I went through all those things. At the time, it didn't feel too good, but it gave me the leverage I need to do what I'm called to do, which is to save the lives of young people and also rebuild our family structure because it's needed.
Are you still in therapy?
So, the other day I said I was going to go back. I haven't been in a year. I did 41 sessions. The first, she told me I needed at least 3 phases. The first when she found me, or should I say when I found her, she said my body posture was just really down when she seen me. And she said I was in crisis mode. I was supposed to go once every 2 weeks. And she was like, oh, no, you're coming once every week. You're in crisis mode. I didn't know what that meant. I could tell now, though. And I remember when we got through all those sessions, she was like, I am so proud of you. Like, okay, so what do you want to do? You're out of crisis mode now, so I don't need to see you every week. Do you want to talk about love and relationships, or you want to talk about trauma? And we started going into love and relationships. And she started, it's a funny moment. She asked me like questions that really caught me off guard, but I knew where she was going with it. She was like, so tell me about your first girlfriend. I was like, what? Like, yeah, tell me about the first girl that you talked to. All right. And why did you stop talking to her? And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, okay, who's your second girlfriend? I said, yeah, okay. So I told her about the second girlfriend. And why did you stop talking to her? So we got down to the fourth girlfriend, all right? And then I'm like, where are we going with this?
Pattern.
She said, do you see a pattern here? Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah. And from there, I thought she was going to keep going there, and she didn't. She found something that said basically that I was still traumatized from me losing my brother to gun violence. So she told me this thing to do. She said, I want you to close your eye. You said that you lost your brother and you kind of witnessed it a little bit. Like I didn't witness it, but I remember them coming knocking on the door late at night, and I woke up. And here's a really cool story that I learned about myself. That night when they knocked on the door, my aunties came to tell my mom that he was no longer living. He had got gunned down. I peeked from the top of the steps down and I witnessed my mom crying, and I had learned that he passed away. But I didn't want I was the man of the house.
So you couldn't break down?
I didn't have my dad at that time. So I went back to my bed and didn't cry. It was like surreal. I went back to sleep. She told me from that moment that a lot of my love and relationships in my life has been affected and impacted by that moment, because that was a moment that I should have been, as a child,
right,
vulnerable. I should have been.
You should have cried. I should
have cried. I should have been held.
Right.
I should have been loved on. I should have been. And to this day, my mom doesn't even know that story. Nobody knew. She asked me that story. I didn't think it was anything because I've always been hard all my life. That was just normal. And when she told me it wasn't normal, I was like, whoa, so what do you mean? She said, this is what I want you to do. She said, Koran, our brains are so powerful. Mm-hmm. She said, the brains that we have, they have like, you got a subconscious mind, you got a conscious mind. She says that the good thing about it is that you can rewire this whole thing. She said, who is your biggest superhero? Like, who's the biggest person you could possibly think of? Like, your biggest superhero? And I said, thought about it for a second and said, Jesus. Yeah, that's my superhero.
Okay.
She said, good answer, of course. She's a Christian. She said, good answer. She said, what I want you to do is that I want you to go back, relive that moment. But this time, instead of you getting into bed by yourself, I want you to picture Jesus holding you in the arms until you fall asleep. And she said, your subconscious mind doesn't know if you practice that enough, it'll eventually delete that scene out of your head, and you will begin to have better love and relationships. This is why therapy is so important. It is not just sitting on a couch telling somebody all your business and then you're crying with tissue. No, like when you actually use the tools that they give you, it is phenomenal. And it's just like playing piano. If you're playing the piano and you want to get good, you're going to have to practice. Right. It's not the biggest thing about therapy is not the therapy session. It's the things that you practice every single day. And of course, if you don't practice, your therapist is going to be able to tell you. She's like a piano teacher. Like, hey, you haven't been practicing. Remember what I told you? Why did you? How are you missing? You're saying some of the same things over. I know that you haven't been practicing.
So are you going to go back and practice some more? Since you took us there.
You know, I said the other day it's time to go. And, you know, the best thing about it is that, you know, I've already got through the big part. It's time
Right,
to go
because
back.
there's a part of therapy that then becomes maintenance.
Yeah. The new stuff and all.
The new stuff, and because your life evolves and...
Yeah,
you know,
I want to go
your
back.
son graduated from high school.
Yeah, my son graduated from high school.
Yeah, so he goes. Is he away now? Or
Yeah, he's away. He's in Phoenix, Arizona.
A long way away.
Yeah, he's a long. That's a whole different story.
Don't
you know
get
what I
me
mean?
to crying. Oh well, let me tell you.
Yeah, my son's like, I lost everything during COVID. I lost my career. I couldn't speak anywhere. I'm a motivational speaker. I couldn't speak anywhere for 2 years. I lost my family. I'm halfway across the country. I'm alone. I'm
Were
feeling
you in
like
Atlanta
a failure.
then?
At that point in time, I was in Phoenix.
Okay.
I lost everything, and I had to go. And you know, the name of my book is called Rock, Paper, Scissors. You know, it's a formula for success of getting back up and making healthy life choices, which basically means rock means to believe, paper means write it down, where are you headed, set some goals, and scissors mean cut away all the distractions. And that was the first time that I've always been preaching that message, but I had to go back to the basics.
You had to use it yourself.
Yeah, what do you believe in, Koran? All right, how you going to get back up? Write it down on paper. It's not over for you. Cut away all distractions. Get away every person out your life that does not line up with what you believe in, and write down. Don't go to any environments that don't line up with what you believe in, right now. And over a period of time, I just start to look up, and like we talked about success, I got the stand on 28th floor of this building, and then in Atlanta, I live in a nice place there. I'm traveling back and forth. I got a Corvette. And it's like everything that I lost, I got back times 2. It's almost like a Job experience. I lost everything that I had. And so there are some things that I'm still expecting God to do for me. But in due time, I know once I go through those last sessions, I wouldn't even say last sessions. I actually look at it as a lifestyle with therapy and mental health and well-being and self-care. I think that I attract what I am, and so there's some things that I'm asking for that I know He's gonna bless me with. So that's the to be continued.
I love that because you are so young, a lot more life, and that as villagers or others are walking around Job, telling him, "What God just forgot about you? What?
Yeah,
you just curse God and go on."
Yeah. Nah.
And he didn't. He refused.
Nah, he's everything to me. I have a personal relationship with God now in a way that even scriptures or sermons on TV couldn't even. You can't take away my faith at this point, and I'm not afraid to lose it all. I think that's part of the battle of success when you're afraid. You know, they said that Job was actually some of the stuff that he was praying against. Like he lost everything because he had fear. You know, the thing that I feared the most happened to me, and that's what happened to me. I didn't want to lose my career. I didn't want to. I've been on TV. I can't walk into a room and everybody, and I didn't want anybody to be able to see that little person that lost his brother to gun violence and his dad's not around. And now I'm just vulnerable and I feel good. I feel really good. I feel good to be vulnerable. I get on stage. Hey, you want to talk about medication? You want to talk about anxiety? You want to talk about, what do you want to talk about? Because I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm not afraid. I'm in a space where I'm healing and on the process of even healing even more. Some things I might not ever heal from, but I can cope with it. I got tools. I can get out.
Absolutely.
And I think that if I had to be honest, I think there's something very liberating when you have the tools to dig yourself out versus a person that you don't even know therapy. You don't have good family around you. You don't have faith. That could be very frustrating. And then you make bad decisions even after that because you feel like you're helpless. I have tools, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life giving these same tools over to these young boys and girls so that we can make sure that we change the culture and what's going on right now.
And I know that you are familiar with Brene Brown.
I was about to say her.
Yes, when you said vulnerability, researcher, she's written many, many books.
Yeah.
She's on Netflix right now, by the way. She's got a series.
She's amazing.
She's got a series on Netflix. She is talking about vulnerability.
Yeah.
That was when I first learned of her.
Yeah.
When she was releasing her studies about vulnerability and that it's a strength.
Yeah, it is.
It is a strength. It is not a weakness.
You know, the thing I thought that people would laugh at or shun me for, those are actually the things that people give me up. Yeah. They like you too. I've talked to so many business professionals. I'm talking the most prominent people in the city, and when I look at them and say, "Hey, I'm going to therapy," and I'm excited about it, it's like, "Hey, give me that number," or "Hey, I didn't tell anybody this, but I'm going through something too." Like people that you think have
it all. Yeah.
Posting online, they have the likes and the shares, and they're all happy and everything's all glorious. If you catch them by themselves, we're all going through something.
So that leads me to this, and I know that I need to let you go, but I want to, I could talk for another 2 hours. That as a Black man, where are we in the battle to help Black men be everything they're supposed to be instead of what society has put them in a box?
It's a hard one to unpack.
Yeah, there's so much.
This is what I would say. I don't have the answer to that all the way, but this is what I would say. If you're listening and you have a young Black man or a Black man that has grew up, didn't have his father, he's having these issues, when you say go get some help, things may get worse before they get better. So I'm going to really be very, very, you have to know when you tell someone, hey, go get some help, and they're trying to learn this new dance or the new way to move, that it may even get worse. For myself, it got worse before it got better, because you got to clean out all that stuff. All I would say is be very gentle and don't take anything personal when they're going through. I think that's the best first step, is that when he does decide to go, if he's making, bad decisions and it seems like it's getting worse, encouraged to keep going. I've had people that have said to me before, like the stigmas and stuff, oh, you went to therapy, you need to go get some more. You know what I mean? That's like, what? Why are you bringing up my therapy? Like, yeah, you need to go back because evidently you need a little bit more healing. Like that's not a comment
Rock,
that you
paper,
should.
scissors.
Yeah, and exactly. But there are people that don't even know to cut those type of people away.
Yeah.
And so I would say empathy. I think that the world needs to be more empathetic to.
For sure.
I think just empathy. I don't have the answer. I will say that I think that one of the answers, if not the answer, to healing this crisis that we have on our hands is bringing back the family. It's the only. It is. There is no other. I mean, there's so many different other things we could talk about, schooling and education, until we figure out a way to be able to get both parents back into the household. We are going to keep this cycle going. And that's going to take us to be vulnerable. It's going to take us to be trusting and a little codependent on one another, not so independent like the cultures. It's everything like, everybody's, I just want to be single. I just want to do me. Like, no, like love is hard.
It is.
It's hard to be able to stay with somebody even when you've been wrong. It's hard to be able to.
And you will be wronged.
You will be.
Because love is long suffering.
Now that's the one. I always have said that. I said the part everybody's like saying all the scripture, and it's like love is patient, love is kind, and it's all beautiful. It's like the last piece says love is long suffering.
Yep.
Nobody wants that piece,
and it keeps no record of wrongs. By the way,
and
we are good. We are good. Let me pull out my list of what you did in May of 2011.
At 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I had on gray. You had on those sweatpants I hate. And then you can, yeah. We keep a record of wrongs.
Yeah. I think we start there.
Okay, we start there. I do love it. That you use the word gentle.
Yeah.
I'm asking you about Black men, and you say be gentle.
Yeah.
And that I have never heard. I have never heard that.
I am confident. I feel good in the skin that I'm in. Do I get it right all the time? No.
And someone was gentle with you.
Yeah.
You were gentle with yourself.
If hurt people, then heal people can heal people.
There you go.
And you heal through empathy, compassion, and just not taking anything personal and just loving people until, you see a change. And that's what people did for me. I want to thank you so much because you've been that, even giving me this platform. Like I seen you the other day and you're like, oh my gosh.
I did. A big old hug.
That hug. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that hug. I'll never forget that hug. It just comforted me and let me know, hey, Koran, keep going. You got this. Like you can see a change. Like it's probably dark outside right now, but we can change. We can do anything we put our mind to. And
I want you to know, you said this earlier, that I see you. And because of my own experience, my own career, that I see you. I don't see the Corvette. I don't see the apartment on the 20 whatever floor. I don't.
You don't see none of that.
I don't see that. I see. I've been blessed with my husband and I with 2 sons, and they've gone through mental health challenges. And as a woman who I think that I was depressed at various stages, I had postpartum depression. I did not know what was going on. My bosses did not know what was going on. They did not treat me with gentleness. Because I was expected to just keep on functioning. And so I'm one of the reasons, there are many reasons for this podcast on 9 PBS. And one of those is to change the narrative, to change the story we tell ourselves. And vulnerability hasn't been a part of the story. Gentleness with Black men has never been part of the ever been part of the story.
Never.
And so if we think we are going to change society, let's just St. Louis. If we think we're going to change St. Louis, we need to listen to what you are saying. And that some of y'all need help, and the rest of you need to be empathetic.
Exactly.
Right. That's it. Goodbye.
Right. Drop the mic. It's over. That's the answer there.
Yeah. Thank you for telling your story.
Thank you for having me come in and share your story.
I hope you guys who are listening, 988 is the number. We at 9 PBS are part of an initiative. We definitely believe in a mentally healthier society. And so you can go to 9pbs.org/wellbeing. That's 9pbs.org/wellbeing. It'll be on screen as well. We are a part of the movement, the desire that you just not have a good job, but that you have good mental health, because everything else emanates from that. So this is what we want for you. And I know that some of y'all, you were touched today, and I'm so glad because Koran decided to come and chat with us.
Thank you so much.
And your website is?
It's Koran Bolden, Koran Bolden, BOLDEN.com.
Love it. I'm so glad you're well.
I am. I feel good.
Thank you so much
for rooting me on.
Well. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel.
For more information about 9PBS's mental well-being initiative, visit 9pbs.org/mental well-being.
Listen, St. Louis with Carol Daniel is supported in part by Midwest Bank Center and the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation.